This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
And a friend of mine for a long time, he only likes politics. If you ask him about how are the Yankees doing, he has no interest. If you ask him almost anything, he likes politics, and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone. This is the Roger Stone Show.
Presented by Legacy Precious Metals.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back, folks. This is Roger Stone, and this is the Roger Stone Show, where we talk politics, well, and more politics. Joining me now, Congressman Eric Burlison, who was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2022. Now, it is a tradition in Washington that freshman congressmen are seen and not heard, but not Eric Burlison. He already had a reputation from the more than a decade he served in the Missouri General Assembly, where he was known as a staunch conservative who was a protector of the taxpayer, pro-Second Amendment, and an advocate for free markets. And he's carried all those outspoken views forward to a Republican majority in the House. He's a proud father, husband, a God-fearing patriot. He's the host of his own podcast, Fresh Freedom. He is a fierce supporter of President Donald Trump. Congressman Eric Burlison joins us now on the Roger Stone Show. Welcome, Congressman Burlison.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Stone. You're very kind.
Well, I watch your feed on X. I watch the press releases from your office. You are by no means a go-along to get-along Republican. I know that you fight with others in the caucus based on your principles, and I admire you for that. You, as the new kid, some members, I guess, are, intimidated, or they want to climb the ladder. You seem more interested in saving the country, and God bless you for it. Congressman, we had Speaker Johnson, who I think initially attached the SAVE amendment, an amendment to the appropriations that would have made it very clear that you had to be a United States citizen in order to vote. And he threatened to hold up the process, indeed, perhaps even close down the government. But then in the end, he did not do that. And the Congress did what they have done before, which is instead of making hard decisions about spending, going to a so-called continuing resolution to kick the can down the road without the SAVE Act attached. And you voted no. Tell us why.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. You've got Rasmussen just did a poll that indicated that I think it's in the upper 70% of Republican voters that would say when posed the question, should we shut down the government in order to pass the SAVE Act, they'd say 70% say yes. The overall population is 60% say yes, shut down the government in order to pass the SAVE Act. And in his poll, the shocking number is that 47% of Democrats think that we should shut down the government in order to pass the SAVE Act. This is a no-brainer topic, and the Biden-Harris administration and their posture on this is very telling. Look, they are suing, I believe it's the state of Alabama, because they found that they had about 3,000 individuals who were registered to vote that were here illegally. They removed them from the voter rolls, and the Biden-Harris administration's response is to sue them.
It really does kind of boggle the mind. You have a patchwork of legal decisions across the country. In some places, the voting lists are being cleaned up. In other places, they seem to be committed to keeping them rife with fraud. Here in Florida, where I am today, a woman was actually arrested at the Palm Beach County Board of Elections hearing because she asked the same question twice. She wasn't disruptive. She wasn't yelling. She just asked the same question twice, but it was an inconvenient question, and sheriff's deputies ushered her out of the room because under a law signed by Governor Ron DeSantis and pushed by the Florida House Republicans, it is a felony to quote-unquote harass an election board official. I think this was not an act of harassment, but it is daunting. Why is the Uniparty so opposed to the SAVE Act, the act that would require that you just be a United States citizen in order to be able to vote?
I think that the Uniparty wants just to continue the grift and the spending. That's their focus. And some of these issues get in the way, and anything that's getting in the way of their funding their pet projects is a distraction. Meanwhile, Rome is burning. America is $35 trillion in debt. We have a Justice Department that's been weaponized. You have patriots that are serving time in prison. Currently, Steve Bannon is in prison for political purposes. The fabric of America is falling apart, and they just want to keep spending.
I'm afraid that you are right. They told us for 2 years that our border was secure. Kamala Harris told us it was secure. Secretary Mayorkas said it was secure. A number of your valiant colleagues tried to impeach Mayorkas for his lack of action in the face of the egregious crimes being committed by illegal immigrants. Is there any other way to fix this problem other than through the election of Donald Trump and the reinstatement of his tough border policies in 30-some-odd days? From my experience and just being up there, a little over a year and a half, is that no. The answer is no. This makeup of Congress isn't going to have the moxie to do it. We need President Donald Trump to come back, and I think that courage is contagious. So I've seen it happen. I mean, if you got someone like Donald Trump, that a lot of the members, even members that you and I might say were more uniparty than others, they will sense the pressure and understand the timing. And I think in the first few 100 days, first year of the Trump presidency, we've got a great opportunity to do some big things. We have about 2 minutes before we need to go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with Congressman Eric Burlison. Quite quickly, Congressman, what was your attitude about Ukrainian President Zelensky seemed to actually be campaigning for Kamala Harris on the American taxpayers' dime in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's absolutely appalling, considering they tried to impeach President Trump for having a phone call with him, right? And really in that phone call, just kind of stressing to him that he should just do the right thing, continue to do what everyone would expect, which is to investigate corruption. And yet they said that was influencing the election, right? Or trying to get a foreign actor to influence the election. This is directly, blatantly in our face, a foreign president in our country advocating for one of the candidates for office.
It really does boggle the mind, and then we can talk about this when we come back. But then he showed up hat in hand at Trump Tower as if he knows, well, maybe Donald Trump is going to win this election, and maybe his campaigning for Kamala in Pennsylvania was a mistake. Folks, you're tuned into the Roger Stone Show here on the Red Apple Audio Network, and I'm with Congressman Eric Burlison, who represents Missouri's 7th District, quite ably, I might add, and we'll be right back.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Are you a financial advisor considering the Independent Registered Investment Advisor, or RIA model, and wondering where to start? Start with Schwab Advisor Services. Schwab has helped thousands evaluate the full range of options and can help you determine your best path forward. Navigate the big and small decisions by tapping into Schwab's decades worth of insights on what fuels RIA success. With Schwab Advisor Services, you have a custodian that will support you every step of the way. Start your journey today at advisorservices.schwab.com/paths.
This is the Roger Stone Show,
Presented by Legacy Precious Metals.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back, folks. This is the Roger Stone Show here, and we're talking to Congressman Eric Burlison, a no-nonsense conservative and a strong supporter of President Donald Trump, who represents Missouri's 7th district. He's answering some tough questions because, he has experienced the House majority. You know the difference between a caucus and a cactus? Well, at least in a cactus, all the pricks are on the outside. He has to deal with all types of Republicans, many of whom are not as strong and committed to principle as he is. I need to ask you, Congressman Burlison, you co-sponsored with Representative Paul Gosar the end of the vaccine carve-out bill, which essentially would remove the liability shield that's granted to Big Pharma for people who suffer injuries that are caused by vaccines. We have coming up on the show, actually, Dr. Robert Redfield, who was the director of the Center for Disease Control under President Donald Trump. We're going to be asking him about this as well. But I'm curious about this bill, and what do you think the prospects are?
You know, I don't know. I think a lot of this, again, relies on if we are able to get a Trump administration in place. You've got Robert Kennedy Jr., who is being tapped to kind of head up the Make America Healthy Again efforts. And I think that this fits within that vein. Look, the American people are very skeptical of the vaccine industry. They're skeptical of Big Pharma. And when they hear things like this, it causes even. It's bipartisan people's animosity towards the fact that pharmaceutical companies are immune from liability. Now they can do it under what's called the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, which is stands for PrEP. But ultimately, that was only supposed to be done in a case of emergency. But as you know, everything is a declared emergency in the federal government. And so because of that, it's basically a pervasive immunity for the vaccine industry. And and I think that we need to bring more attention to it.
We spoke with another guest earlier about the revelations by the Senate Homeland Security Committee regarding the events in Butler, Pennsylvania on the 13th of July, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. One of the things that really aggravates me is you can go online and find hundreds and hundreds of people who insist that there was no assassination attempt on Trump. This was a psyop. It was all staged. That Corey Comparatori, a valiant firefighter who tragically gave his life by taking a shot to the head while shielding his daughter and his wife, that he didn't really die. This whole thing was orchestrated by Roger Stone. That really aggravates me. I call them assassination deniers. There is no question whatsoever about what happened that day, but there are a lot of questions about why and how it happened. The Speaker has appointed a committee. Not much has been heard from the committee, yet it seems to me like some members like Eli Crane, like Corey Mills, himself a experienced sharpshooter, both of them veterans, should have been on that committee. Now, Clay Higgins, who's a good man, is on the committee. And he did some great early independent investigating, but we invited him to come back on the show. We haven't heard from him, hope to get him back. Do you think this committee is going to get to the bottom of what really happened, and more importantly, and why and how in Butler, Pennsylvania?
I'm sad that Corey Mills and Eli Crane were not added to that committee. I think it's fairly telling. But it is good to see that they're doing their own independent investigation into this, and so is Governor DeSantis. So that gives me some hope that between the three and what efforts are happening in the Senate, that we'll get a 3D picture of what happened. But look, to me what's obvious is that you have a complete incompetence in the Secret Service. They had poor channels of communication. They didn't even try to set up channels of communication. I think that they had complete apathy about protecting President Trump, and they had, that apathy is led by the direction from their leadership, right? If the Biden-Harris administration cared about the lives of their opponents, political opponents, that message would be carried down to Secret Service, but instead they focused on their priorities were the woke, making sure that they were following DEI standards. But when you take your eye off the ball, this is what happens. And it's really a failure. And thank God President Trump survived miraculously from that attempt.
I read, Congressman, that you recently met with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., with Callie Means, Jordan Peterson, and Ted Cruz. We've got about 2 minutes here. Just tell us quickly about this important movement to solve the health crisis in America.
Yeah, something is wrong. The American people are sick, and we're sicker than other individuals in other countries. Our childhood obesity rate is now over 20%. The cost of preventing some of these very preventable diseases, including diabetes, is costing the U.S. $4.3 trillion annually. Now, then you've got some other statistics that R.K. mentioned. He said in the 60s, statistically, only about 6% of the American children had chronic diseases. Today, it's 60%. The autism rate went from being 1 in 10,000 to today it's 1 in 34. And then on average, the young women entered puberty today they're entering puberty 6 years earlier than they did before the turn of the century. So something has changed us, and so it's important that we start figuring out and get the science right so we can figure out what is causing the American people and our children to be poisoned.
Well, I, for one, feel much better about the movement to make America healthy again, knowing that Congressman Eric Burlison is going to be in the thick of the fight. Congressman Moore, thank you for joining us today on the Roger Stone Show, and you have an open invitation to come back anytime when you have something important to say. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you, too.
Yeah. Look, we Roger Stone. He did nothing wrong to the FBI need to press when they bashed away in his home.